Today is Daf pay tests. Yes.
Hamid Aleph, right?
Yeah, Shkach and taking off the Mars. It's 89.
Takes Aleph?
Yeah. Right at the top, huh? Okay, we said Chatziluk Shemen L'Toida. We're learning all different liquid measurements in the Mishnah, what the measuring cups are for. So we learned that half a lug of oil was used for the carbon taida. Tanya. It's taught in a Bais. It's the top line, the second line from the top. Rabbi Rabbi Akiva says, "Ma tamalaim or bashemen shtei pamim." By the carbon taida, it says by the Minchas Mafetana, it says chalais belulis bashemen or kikamatzis meshuchim bashemen. So it didn't have to say twice shemen, because it could have said chalais matzis belulis or kikamatzis meshuchim bashemen. And it would have been clear that belulais and meshuchin is all b'shemen. So why does it have to say an extra shemen? Eily nemar el b'shemen echad. If it would only say shemen once, you say harei ukachol menachos lug. We would have understood that you anyways have a lug, a lug of oil. All menachos are 1 lug per isarin. That's the ratio. You have 1 isarin, 1/10 of an ephah. Of flour, you have a lug of oil. A lug is six eggs, right? And there were 12 lug in a hin. Okay. Now, achshav shekasa bashemen, but now that this it says twice shemen, have a riba achariba. It's an extra inclusion. We have a rule.
So lose.
We have a rule that ein riba yacha riba ela lamayit. If you're coming to include after an inclusion, you're actually coming to diminish. So miyata kasav lachatzi lug. It should have been a lug. Takes it down to a half. Because it says an extra shemen. It's amazing. It says an extra time shemen, it means that you give less. The Gemara asks, riba acher riba. You call this, it says 1 time shemen, you call that an inclusion after inclusion. That's chad riba here, that's only 1 inclusion, that's a regular riba. Maybe we should double it, not take away. Riba acher riba means you already included something, why are you saying it again? But here, you're only including 1 thing, because you're only saying an extra shemen once, because it only says it twice. The Gemara says, Ella, rather, ilulay nemar bashemen kalikir, if it wouldn't have said the word shemen at all, the yisiyam arek chol menachos lug. I don't need the word shemen at all. Could have said meshuchen and belulais, and we would have known that it's a regular mincha. Achshav shenemar bashemen. Now that it says shemen twice, that's how we riba achariba vein riba achariba el lamayit. The fact that it's coming to include twice is actually coming to diminish. So therefore, it's telling me that I only have a half a lug for the carbon taida. I have so many chalas, but I only have half a lug.
Anywhere in the Torah where it says a word twice, generally speaking, it's coming to be mayat something, right? That's a rule.
If it's a riba yachariba, sometimes if the first word is needed,
Then it's not a riba.
then it's just a plain riba. But if the first word isn't needed, and the second one isn't needed, that's a riba yachariba.
And that's a miyut.
That comes to me, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know a good example in the English language where that would mean that, because what the Gemara is doing is, it's telling us, besides that there's regular drushes and all of this, but there's nuances in language that you had to have been there by the speech to understand what the meaning was. So the narrator could add in to a conversation what
Right.
it means. So the Torah tells us things, and the Gemara tells us the drashas as if like the narrator is explaining. He said sarcastically or something that we wouldn't have got if we just would have seen the words. So okay, so I don't know a good example for it, but. Yochel yechatzi lugzeh mischalik l'shloishes minim l'chalas l'kikin or l'revicha. I have a half a lug. I have 3 types of matzahs. I have 1 type of challah, but that's not going to get the oil. I have 3 types of matzah: chalas, rikikin, and revucha. The chalas would be thicker. The rikikin are wafers, like crackers, and revucha is boiled, like bagels. So maybe I should divide it into thirds. A half a lug is 6. A lug is 6 eggs. A half a lug
Was
is
that
3.
enough to
It's
do all
3 eggs.
Would that be enough for all 3?
I don't know. But there would be a bit of oil. So I would give the size of 1 egg per type. When it says an extra time shemen by revucha, by the boiled one, so riba shemen l'revicha, that's a regular riba. It's adding extra oil there. Okay, so how do we do this? First we diminish the oil and then we add the oil to 1. Maybe chatzi lug shemen. You bring a half a lug. V'chaitzeyu. And you divide the half into a half. So chetzav l'chalas rikikin. Half of it goes to the chalais and to the rikikin, the loaves and the wafers. The chetzav l'revicha, and half it goes to the boiled one. Okay, that's what Rabbi Akiva is doing here. Amalei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah tells Rabbi Akiva, if you would spend the whole day telling me bashemen, all types of inclusions, Eini shemelach, I'm not going to listen to you. Elachatzi lug shemen. Rather, how do we know that there's a half a lug by the taida? Chatzi lug shemen l'taida. Well, a reviyah shemen l'nazir, and that a nazir has a reviyas for his loaves. V'achad asiyem shebei nida l'nida. This is another example. There's 11 days between blood of nida. That means a woman sees blood, she's tummy for 7 days. No matter what, whether she sees for 7 days or whether she sees for 1 day. This is not the halacha. This is biblically. This is how it is. So she would be tummy for 7 days. Then she has an 11-day interval that during those 11 days, if she sees blood for 1 day, she's tummy 1 day. If she sees blood for 2 days, she's tummy just for the 1 extra day. And if she sees blood for 3 days, she's tummy for 7 days. And those 7 days need to be clean. So that's the Zayin Akiyim. That's the 7 clean days comes from that. But how many days could that be? That's in the 11 days between 7 and 7. So there's Nida, which is 7 days, and then there's the 11 days Shebein Achad Asiyam Shebein Nida LeNida. I don't know why they got the store 7-Eleven. They didn't learn. They definitely didn't learn this. They wouldn't have chosen that. So these halachas that we just said.
That's where the
No, I think it's 7 days a week.
Oh,
11.
no, I thought it was from 7 to 11, no?
No, I think it's 7 days a week, 11 months of the year, probably.
Let's go
Because
for 12, let's see it.
no, because there's, I think they close once.
It's not from 7 morning to 11 at night.
Is that what it is? I thought because December 25th or something, they couldn't say it was 12 because they close once. Anyway, okay, so halach l'moshe misina. All these are halach l'moshe misina. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah tells us that he has a tradition, and he doesn't need Rabbi Akiva's drushes to tell him that. They're recognized. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is a miyuchas, the greatest yuchas that there was. It's the 10th generation from Ezra. Even the name Azariah sort of alludes to that. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. You remember, he was a kohen. When Rabbi Gamliel was taken out of the yeshiva, they didn't have who to put in. They put in Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He was miyuchas. He had everything. That's when he says, "I was, behold, I'm like 70 years old." Okay.
And he could talk back to Rabbi Akiva.
So he's telling Rabbi Akiva that we have a tradition, and you're darshaning. See, Rabbi Akiva came to the yeshiva later, so he really questions every word. He's learning basic things as an adult. All of us, all the basic things in life we never question, we learned them as children. Rabbi Akiva has a very mature approach to everything. Even each letter he learns, he darshans every letter. Why is the shape like this? Why is the crown like that? So okay, that's my spin on it. Okay, Belug Hayamaydid. Ah, beautiful. Thank you. It was we said that a carbon mincha was measured with a loy. The oil that went into a mincha was measured with one lug. That was the Tanakama. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said that it wasn't a ratio here of isaron to lug. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said that we didn't care how much flour there was always only one lug in a mincha. That was the machlekes. Was it 1-to-1 according to the Tanakama, according to the Chachamim? According to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, it didn't matter. It was always one lug shemen, no matter how much flour you decided to bring. Okay. Tana Rabbanan was taught in a brisa. The Mitzayra ani ksiv isarain. It's Aleph here. V'gaimer, it's supposed to say. Bolol. Probably again v'gaimer v'loig. What happens is a Mitzayra brings 3 sacrifices. He brings a oila, a chatas, and a nasham. A keves, a kavsa, and a keves, a sheep. If he's poor, then he brings the yasham, but for the oila and the chatas, he can bring birds instead. So if he would be bringing 3 animals, then he would be bringing an isaron per animal, because every animal gets a nisachim that come along with it, the flour and oil and wine that come along with it. But here he's bringing birds, so birds don't have that. So it says, by the ani, it says that he brings an isaron, and the actual pasuk says, isaron seilas echad. The first opinion here, Divrei Chachamim, first opinion here is extracting words from the pasuk. It says, he brings an isaron of flour. Bolol, it says it's mixed with oil. Now, we know that a Mitzvah also has to bring a jug of oil. And the end of the pasuk says, v'loig shaman. And he has to bring a loig. That oil is placed on his thumbs and it's sprinkled also. So because it says isaron, bolol, that's mixed. And then the end of the pasuk says v'loig, it's not talking about what it's mixed with. It's mixed with oil. This is another thing. It's another thing. There's like a big comma there. V'loig, and there's also a loig. So limit al isaron shatan loig. That tells us that every isaron needs a loig. It's a drasha. Divrei Chachamim. Rabbi Nechemia, the Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It's supposed to be. Here the Shita Mekubetzes adjusts it to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. That fits with our Mishnah. It was Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov in the Mishnah. Oimrim, they say, afilu mincha shel shisha esrainim ein la'ela luga. Even if the mincha is 60, which that's the largest a person can bring a korban mincha, that was the largest utensil in the Bais HaMikdash, you only bring one leg of oil together with it. Shenemar lemincha v'leg shaman. They use the same pasuk. It's mamish the same pasuk. The Chachamim, they were highlighting words from the pasuk. It says Seilas Isarein Bolol v'leg. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and Rabbi Menachem just say the mincha v'leik shaman, that a mincha gets a leik shaman. I don't care how much they're using just the word right before. Okay, Rabbi Menachem and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov hayisan bolol v'leik mayavdilei, like the Gemara usually does. If one opinion uses this part of the pasuk, other opinion uses that part of the pasuk, it's going to say, well, what do they do with that part of the pasuk? And what do they do with that? So first we're taking Rabbi Nechemia and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. We're going to discuss what do they do with that. It says that each Yisaron gets a like. He explains a hula gufay. There's no drasha there. it needed to tell us that a mitzayra, an ani, a poor mitzayra, that has, the scale that he can bring birds instead of, that has to tell us that he brings an isaron. The ka'amar rachmana.
It brings a log here. Questions on the log, right?
Yeah, but it's isaron for a log. So he's learning the log. They're darshaning actually, but the fact that it says isaron balol v'log, they're saying that the ka'amar rachmana. Actually, there's a word missing over here. It's supposed to say. What do you have? My Gemara doesn't have it. Look at that hay.
Oh,
man. They said, after you finish your coffee, take it and drop it in the garbage. Yesterday, we left it
Ligufei Maika Amar. Dalid Nimchak. Oh, Ligufei Maika Amar. Hahu Ligufei Ka Amar. Rachmana. That the Eibishter is telling us that Leisi Chad Isaron, that he needs to bring an Isaron. Okay, V'idach. What does the Chachamim say? That they said that that's a real drasha. It tells us that an Isaron gets a like. L'gufei leitzarech. I don't need a pasuk to tell me that he needs to bring a nesachem together with his asham. Midagal rachman agab mitzayra asher. Since the Eibishter says, Rachmana, the merciful one, says by a mitzayra that's wealthy, he has to bring gimel karbanos, the gimel esrenas. He has to bring nesachem for each. So. Hacha dechad karban chad isaron. Over here it's only one. I know automatically he brings an isaron. V'idach. So what does Reb Nechemia and Reb Elazar ben Yaakov do with that? We know already. So it must be extra. They need to have a lima that each isaron gets a like. Itzchach. They say that no, it's really necessary. He wouldn't have understood naturally that a poor mitzayra needs to bring one isaron. Why? Salkadai Chamina could have entered my mind to say. Because the Eibishter was merciful on him and allowed him to bring a poor man's sacrifice. Maybe he's exempt from bringing the meal offering also. V'idach. What does Rabbi Menachem say to that? You never find a sacrifice like that. This is a new, a novelty. Why would I ever thought that you're exempt from that? V'Rabbanan. Okay, we're finished. That's the machlekes. Do we say that the Eibishter would be merciful on him, that he wouldn't have to bring a mincha at all? And Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says that no, we never find such a thing. And ultimately that leads us to, is there a real drasha from the Isaron to the light, that the Isaron gets a light? Now we take the Rabbanan and we say, what do they do with the mincha v'loig shaman, that every mincha has a loig no matter what the size is? That was from Nechemia and Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. What do they do with that? It says, they're coming to tell me that you can't give a tiny mincha that's even less than a like. The smallest amount that you can give as a mincha, it needs to be an isaron, which requires a like. You can't give a half an isaron or just a little, l'chaim cups, donating a small mincha. It has to be substantial. What is that amount? Isaron. V'idach. So what does Reb Nechemia and Reb Elazar ben Yaakov say to that? That's an important halacha. They say no, tarti shamet minei. They learn two things from him. They learn, first of all, that it needs to be an isaron, the smallest amount. You can give however much you want. They also learn that you never change the size of the oil, and that's always alike. Okay, I do not have an explanation of how sometimes the Gemara says tarti shamet minei, and sometimes the Gemara says v'hai this is coming to teach me this. Hai mi ba'ilei, I needed to teach me something else, and somehow it's like without questioning. Sometimes it says like, oh no, this they learned two things, and then sometimes it says no. How can you learn two things? We already used it to teach me. I have no explanation. If anyone comes up with, I don't know. I saw this in Hilchos Basar B'Chalav. The first Prima Gadim discusses, because it says Leisvashal Gedi B'Chalevim. The Gemara learns from Gedi like a whole bunch of things. And the Prima Gadim there discusses how you can learn all these things, but I didn't follow the whole. Usually, you can only if there's one pasuk.
One drasha per
Yeah,
per
usually
word.
each word.
Just out of curiosity, Rabbi, does an Evian bring less, like there's something about Ani here, does an Evian not bring a carbon at all?
I don't think it doesn't give you the three categories over there. It gives you two categories. By a Menachos Daf, it has three categories.
I'm saying, but that's where the negates on Ani.
Right.
And he brings.
Yeah, I don't remember that there's three. There's two possibilities by a mitzvah. If someone goes into the Beis Hamikdash when he's tamei, so then there's three possibilities. There was the asham, there was the birds, and then there was the mincha. That was the scale of the sliding scale. Okay, then we learned shishal apar. That means 6 lug for a par. That's half a hin. Arba la'ayel. 4 lug for a ram. It comes along with every ram that's brought. That's a third, because there's 12 in a.
This is oil,
It's actually both.
oil and wine.
And wine.
What was being done with all this oil?
I think the oil was mixed with the flour, and it was totally burnt.
All of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 100 billion barrels
Maybe
of
I'm-
oil.
Maybe I'm confusing things, but didn't we learn a little while back that from the flour they just took 1 kmitz and sprinkled it on
Those
the
were
dish?
the mincha donation offerings, or specific mincha. And minchas nesachim was just put straight on the
So
fire.
in this case, all the flour and all the oil goes on the base of dish?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
on
was
the
on the mizbeach.
mizbeach?
Yeah. You don't know that?
You sound
You're a
upset.
Cohen.
You're
No, I don't know that. That's what we gotta learn.
You get nothing for all your work.
You should have stayed in Yerushalayim at the yeshiva for
Ateret Kohanim.
Kaladim.
Ateret Kohanim, yeah.
Shleisha lakeves, and there's 3 for a sheep. Okay, we'll see that what the ratios are, because we didn't discuss the flour here. Minalan, where do we know this? It's a little surprising. It's a clear pasuk. Tiksiv, v'niskehem chatzia hin yelapar. This in la, or in the kavasyan. But really, what's happening here is, how do we know how big a hin is what the Gemara is asking. Hin, treser lugen have. A hin is 12 lug. Tiksiv, shemen zayis hin. Because it says, the oil, olive oil, a hin. That doesn't tell me how big it is. But then it says, uksiv, shemen mischas kodesh yezeli l'dayresechem. The anointing oil, this is the only thing that was a full hin. And over here it says, anointing oil will be for me for generations. And the word zeh begamachia tracer having. The word zeh is 12. How do you know it's 12 lug?
It's there.
I understand it's 12, but how do you know it's a lug?
I don't know. The
So
word-
Rashi, where was this Rashi? Vikash lachem tracer revius. Maybe it's 12 revius. How do you know it's 12 lug? So it says that's not a question. Rashi in the traditional Rashi. He says midiraisa we only find a lug. That would the only measurement that we would have. So that's the measurement that we know of. We say that it's 12 of those. Okay. Shleisho mechzel menorah chatzi lug l'chol ner. The menorah had 3.5 lug, and there were 7 candles. So each one was a half a lug. Minani Mili, how do we know this? Tanu Rabbanan, it was taught in a Bais Miyarav Biker. The pasuk says that outside the tent of meeting, outside the pareiches, which is covering the testimony, Aaron and his son should set up from evening till morning the menorah in front of Hashem. It's an everlasting statute for all generations. So 10 lamidasa, you have to put in the amount that it has to be able to burn from evening to morning. Okay. Davar acher, another pshat. Me'erev ad biker, what is that telling me? The only avodah that's kosher after the Tamid Shel Bein Arbayim and after all of the avodas in the Bais Hamikdash, was only the menorah. V'shiru chachamim chatzi lug. And the stage is established that there's a half a lug, me'urta v'yad tzafra, from evening until morning. Tzafra means morning. Tzafra taba, right? Ikadamri, some say milmaila lamata shiru, v'ikadamri mimata lamaila shiru. Gemara is discussing the way they did the experiments. How did they figure it out? Did they start from using a lug, milmaila lamata? They said, and they saw in the morning, oh, this is way too much. Next time we're going to use less. Or did they start using a quarter of a lug? And they said, hey, it's out already in the morning. You have to put in more. Rashi discusses that the nights were not always equal. Different winter and summer. There's different. So what would they do there?
Take the longest night.
So they would take the longest night. That's one thing that he says. Another thing that he says is that they would adjust the wick size, so that if it would be a wider wick, it would burn, or more, or a thinner wick would burn less, and they were able to adjust it so that it should come out.
We had before 2-3 days ago regarding what we light the menorah in the evening or in the morning.
Yeah.
But here say from everybody.
Everyone agrees that it's in the evening. Shaila is, do you light it also by day? It's machlekes the Rambam and other shitas.
What does that mean? Do you light it also?
Does the menorah burn during the day?
You light it twice.
Do you light it twice?
Do you light it
or do you
twice?
light it once?
Just once.
No, it should be once
In the
continue
evening.
from Erev ad Boker,
what's happening?
included.
Me'erev ad Boker, from evening till morning. Do you light it again in the morning?
Why? Why would you think
That the light is going to stay longer. I mean,
The Rambam, I think, writes that they would clean it out. I forget which opinion, Rambam or Rashi, that they would hatavas haneiros, they would clean it out, and they would set it up. Question is, after they would set it up in the morning, would it be lit in the morning, or would it just be set up and left there?
So wait till
And only the Ner Ma'aravi, I think it says burnt the whole time.
that's.
But the rest of the candles, was it burning the whole time, or was it left not burning throughout the day?
But is the candle was not light all night?
All night. It
All
burnt
night
all
and
night.
all day too?
No, I don't know about all day. That's a machlekes. All night, yes. That's clear.
Yeah, okay. Because today you have those small candles. They light for 6-8 hours. I mean, if you light it, let's say in there, it's coming till 2 o'clock in the night. So the Shabbos candle. So I mean, the quantity over there is much more. There should be light more and.
No, so their candles in the menorah, they put in oil, they lit it before dark, and it lasted until the morning.
Okay.
Okay. I mentioned yesterday the Rebbe has this Rishima, this beautiful Rishima Menorah. Just have to warn you, it takes about a month to learn. It's very complex. I did it once in the Smicha program. We learned Chassidus in the morning. I said, no one's going to go through this. It takes too long, So let's take a month. We went through it. It's very enjoyable. But you have to sit on it. There's a Rashba, big Chuvas Rashba. And then the end, there's a piece of Chassidus. And he uses everything here. All of these Gemaras that we're learning is all part of his proving things. Okay. It was written as a letter to the rabbi that was asking him how was the menorah done, and the Rebbe wrote this beautiful long, and then he explains it according to Chassidus. Okay, Manda Amar Mimata Lamaila, the one that says that the experimentation was done by first starting off with less, and then they increased it until they had a half a lug. Shiurai Mimata Lamaila Shiurai, that they measured it from below to above. It's because the Torah is concerned about the money of the Jewish people, so they didn't want to do experimentation with too much.
It's like the Nerot Chanukah, מלמטה למעלה.
Yeah, it's interesting that it doesn't bring that. Let me think about that. Manda Amar Mimaila Lamata, the one that says the other way, that says they started from the top. That's how they measure it. They're not going to. They're not going to show poverty. That they're going to be cheap in the temple. The temple that they're using gold. They're going to use less oil. Okay, it's a new Mishnah here. Ma'arvin nischei parim benischei elim.
It's like it was
Right here, it doesn't tell me in the Mishnah exactly. What are we talking about, the Nesachim? Are we talking about the wine? Are we talking about the oil? It's not unclear. In the Gemara, it's going to get clear. It says that you're allowed to mix nischei parim benischei elim. Now, the ratio, even though a par has a half a hin, which is 6, but six lug, but it's shleisha esrainim, but it's 3 yisarim, so it's 2 lug of oil per yisarim. Now a ram is 4 lug. It's a shlisha sahin, but it's 2 isarim. So it's again 2 to 1. If the ratio is the same. The ratio is the same. So we're saying that you can mix the oil of the parim together with the oil of the elim, because the ratio of flour to oil is exactly the same in both, even though the par is more, but the ratio is the same. Nischei kvasim b'nischei kvasim. Sheep as well, different sacrifices you can mix. Shal yachid b'shal tzibur, you can mix it. We're talking about you're going to put it on the altar.
Isn't that obvious though? I mean, if the first thing is Marvin Niskei Parim Niskei Elim, then for sure Niskei Pasim, no?
Yeah, you have a good point.
But Nischei Kvasim with Nischei Elim doesn't work.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why it wants to say that. Because it wants to tell me that you can't do that. So yachid b'shal tzibur, that you can mix an individual with the community. It's the same ratio. Shal yain b'shal emesh, you can mix today's with yesterday's, because we've learned in different gemaras that a person can bring his carbon today, and he can bring his minchas nesachim 10 days later. That's what the Gemara says. Aval ein ma'ar v'nischei kvasim b'nischei parim, but you can't mix the sheep, the oil of the sheep with the of a par ve'elim, of a bull or ram. V'imbolam elu b'fnei atzmai ve'elu b'fnei atzmai. If they were mixed separately, and then v'nisarvu, and then they went together, that's ksherim b'diavad. That's kasher b'diavad. Imad shlei balal. If they got mixed together before they were mixed independently, then that's puzzle. The ratios are totally mixed up there. That's puzzle. Hakevas abar ma'omer. It was a lamb that came together with the omer. Even though you had 2 isar in there, usually each keves, each lamb, sheep, only gets 1. But by the omer, it says that you bring 2. Shnei yisraelim. But the oil was the same.
We want to try the keves here, Rabbi. Go ahead.
Okay. We said